And hello, welcome to a another episode of Power On Podcast 00Status. I'm one of your hosts, Taylor, or Motogato 553, or Writhing, or like I have like a bunch of different handles. Hi, how's it going? Um, yeah, and with me, laughing and chuckling about is one of my, well, not one, my only other co-host there, Sushi B. How's it going, Mr. Sushi?
I'm doing well. How are you this evening, Agent 553?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing it is yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
That's good, even though you're low on the MI6 food chain.
I know I'm pretty yeah, that's a
You got a long
low
ways to go to
place.
get up to the 00
Mhm.
status.
It is a long way to the top.
Yeah. Which division are you in right now? Probably something like the mailroom or something of that sort.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like one of the just the gate guards or something.
Yeah, maybe you're like the guy who has to stay in the telephone booth 24 hours a day for like a 10-week shift or something.
Yep.
And you just basically watch traffic and did the blue car come by? It's like,
Well, it's not even
several
like
blue cars have come by.
The MI6 headquarters would be like one of those offshoot ones.
Yeah, somewhere's way off in the corner.
Right. It's just like, oh, you're on the Isle of Man or whatever.
Yeah, that wouldn't be all that horrible. Actually.
No, it wouldn't. I'd actually be fine with that.
Yeah, you could be in a lot worse places.
Right.
Easter Island would be pretty boring. Interesting, but quite uneventful most of the time, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was it Get Smart that had all the people, all the other agents that would be hiding in bushes and like, and they weren't even inconspicuous. Like you could see them half the time.
In what?
That was the television show Get Smart. It was basically a knockoff, right, of James Bond. It was like a television series in the United States.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's the one with Don Adams, and he has the telephone shoe.
Don't know what you're talking about. Nope.
I'm gonna have to show you this.
Don't even know who Don Adams is.
Okay. He also did the voice of Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, I'll have to point it out to you. It was a comedic take on the spy genre. So it was like what was his?
Like agent? There weren't a lot of those.
I can't remember what his agent name was, but he was always with 99, like this female agent that was with him. Anyways, yeah, we'll move on. I'll show it to you sometime though.
Okay. So yeah, I think people listening should probably give them a heads up on. So we had a few recordings.
Yep.
And they died. They went to cyber heaven or cyber purgatory or what have you, and things happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here now.
We're resurrected. The second kick at the can.
I'll say, I'll bring it up real quick. I'm kind of curious. We last updated May 30th, 2019. So it's been 3 years.
Well, it's as good a time as any to get back on the saddle.
Right. Yeah, let's No Time to Die.
No, I guess not. Yeah, we could probably use any of these weird titles to represent this lull in the Bond 26, the lull. I'm expecting, we'll get into that at some point, but I'm expecting the next movie to have some pretty dumb title.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, No Time to Die isn't bad.
No, I think it's not bad.
But it's not A View to a Kill. I mean, that's a cool title name. Too bad they splice it up between two different characters for dialogue, and it's just awful.
It doesn't bother me that much, but I think the delivery from the second character doesn't really. The first character, I don't mind the delivery, but the second character kind of, I'm like, it kind of feels a little shoehorned in.
Yeah, it just sounds really kind of weird.
Yeah, the first character not so much because it's in context with what's going on. It's okay. And even I think if that character maybe said that, like kind of said the first part and then kind of over the shoulder said it to somebody behind them, maybe it might not bother me as much, but it's the way that second character kind of just shoehorns himself into the scene. But yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So this episode is about the last hurrah for certain Sir Roger Moore.
So Roger Moore, yep.
Came out in 1985,
Mhm.
and yeah, View to a Kill. Oh boy, this movie is certainly 80s.
Yes, it is.
It's
Straight from that title sequence is very 80s with all the neon colors and
the juxtaposition between the hot and cold, and
yeah.
yeah, it's like not to come off as pervy, but I do like the unzipping of the coat, and then it kind of opens up with the like the 007 logo
Okay.
in that like neon paint. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Mhm.
Like I mean, I get what it's going for, but I'm
Yeah.
like, just in a look sort of thing.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought the take was okay. I didn't mind the sort of flair, and yes, it does have that 80s look to it, but it it's still kind of, I don't, to me it's kind of still upheld. Like I don't think it's horrible. I think there's other ones that are a lot worse.
I will say that song has grown on me because I used to not like it so much,
Okay.
but not like when we had recorded it
Mhm.
last, but like when I was younger, I wasn't as big of a fan
Mhm.
of that song. It just didn't really. But when we watched it, when we were doing that old recording,
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I kind of like this tune. And then
Yeah.
I watched when we watched it again. I was like, oh okay, this tune isn't really nearly as bad as what I remember feeling as a kid, and how some people that I knew that like watched the movie and stuff were always like, ah, this is such a bad Bond tune.
Yeah, and I agree. I've kind of always not minded the song, and I think it's grown on me as well. And I actually like it quite a bit, and I can listen to it outside of watching the movie, and it's like, oh right, that's the from the Bond theme. And as a whole, yes, it's got definitely that sort of 80 synth to it and stuff, but I don't know, to me it fits kind of in the upper echelon of Bond themes. I don't know if it's like top, but it's certainly in that higher end chunk of good themes.
I mean, it may be that, but it is not the top of Duran Duran songs like the Reflex and Hungry Like the Wolf or
Mhm.
whatever.
I
At
like
least the Reflex, because the Reflex is a DDR song. That's
okay.
strictly what I know it from.
Okay.
Anything.
And later on into the early 90s, that they had a song, Ordinary World. I like that song. It's not bad.
Okay.
It was kind of past their heyday, but they still kind of had like a little stint there into the early 90s where they still had, they weren't kind of like out of the game yet. But yeah,
Before
Ordinary World, I think it's a pretty solid song, but it
they were
doesn't
gonna say
sound anything
90s
like their
before
80s. But this sounds
before
nothing like
all
their
80s music died.
80s. I think Hungry Like the Wolf, not to get too off topic, I believe was actually written for, who was it? It was like Heart, or it was another band was supposed to record it. And it's like you couldn't
Art
really
was
imagine
supposed
somebody
to
else do it.
Heart doing that seems a little out of yeah, just from
Mhm.
what we got, that would just be really weird.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly have a bit more of a rock power ballad, I guess, theme to
Right.
it if it was, instead of sort of the techno-y 80s synth pop or whatever that is.
Mm.
But yeah, so but yeah, I like the track a lot, and I like, I always love in the Bond movies when they are able to take the theme song that's played in the opening credits, and when they kind of soften it like throughout the film,
Mhm.
and there's sort of more of like a melodic
Kind of
version of
serves as
it.
a leitmotif throughout the
Yeah,
whole.
yeah, there's a scene in this movie that it's used, where Bond is talking on that little, I don't know, it's sort of like a little wooden bridge, and he's talking to the character Stacy, who he
Mhm.
meets for the first time, and that theme is played, but it's kind of really toned down and much more in the background. But I really like the composition there, and sort of fits with the scene quite well.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's one of those that, at least when I was watching and stuff, my ears would perk up a bit more when I would hear that. I don't know if it's just because, oh yeah, I know it, and then or whatnot, but it's like, oh yeah, this is a nice kind of twist on it.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah, and
if it's done well, and I think it was done well there. Like there's, like I can think of games where they will do that, where it's like Neon Falcon. I don't know if they're because I haven't really played as much of them lately, but like the Legend of Heroes games, they generally did a really good job of them. Certain series, it feels like they fall off the wagon. Maybe they're a bit too cluttered, but yeah, a lot of games like to do that as well, and sometimes it can work really well, and sometimes it just doesn't. For this movie, it worked really well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of a common theme in a lot of Bond, and not just in the Bond franchise, right? You can watch a lot of movies where they take that, whatever it's the opening composition or opening theme song, and then you kind of hear interlaced at certain points in the film, depending on the type of song it is, if it can fit with a particular scene. Now that you're saying games, the one that comes to my mind, and it's not necessarily like the initial theme song, but is and it's not even a game I've really played very much of, but that's Dragon Quest 3. And without hopefully spoiling anything, but basically the main hero theme gets utilized in a final sequence, and it hits all the right notes kind of thing.
Yeah, that does good. Terra Enigma does a really good one, where the two different overworld themes, it's technically the overworld themes, are spliced into the final battle theme really well, and it's like, yeah, this is pretty awesome. Cool. It just works out really well.
Nice.
But we're not talking about video games.
No, we're
talking
not.
about how you do count. So yeah, goodness gracious.
Okay, could we jump into just Roger Moore like right away in this?
Yeah,
movie?
Sure. He's old.
Yeah, he certainly is. And what, like, how old is he? 57 when they made this?
50, either 57, 56. He's in his mid 50s.
And I remember reading an interesting quote, basically saying, because this is the movie that follows Octopussy.
As it was put, you know, they have to fluff their stuff there, but because I also watched the documentary for this, and they mentioned really,
how you went all in on this one.
They mentioned how Octopussy was like the most successful, and like they really blew their horn for Octopussy there. Or like just setting it up, because like, oh yes, Octopussy was the most successful Bond movie to date, and now we're going even further beyond. And he's just like, okay. You know, sure.
Hearing that makes me think they were going to make a Moonraker too.
If only.
Moonraker 2 Return to Space.
But that, okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
Talking about Octopussy.
No, but you're right. I had heard that Octopussy was quite successful financially. But they were saying, somebody had mentioned basically, and I haven't seen Octopussy in a while, so I don't remember it really, really well. But they said basically something happened where Roger Moore just suddenly looked like he aged significantly from the time that Octopussy was made to this movie, and it's very noticeable. Like, I don't know what it is and why, but he does look quite a bit older in this movie.
That happens though. Just some people just, you know, it's just a life catches up to you.
Yeah.
Just like, oh wow. Like
well, Roger Moore was a smoker, wasn't he? Wasn't he like a pretty heavy smoker?
I don't know. I mean, he did end up being 90 something before he ended up passing away.
Yeah, he did live pretty long, but I seem to remember, I think he was a smoker. But anyways, yeah, who knows what it was.
And good on him though. Like, from what's at least been said, documentary. I wasn't around for the when it was released and stuff, so I don't know. But from how it was framed in the documentary, a lot of them said that by the mid 80s, Bond's time had been done. There was no more. It was kind of like, there's really nothing. Like, it's time to just, you know, put this to bed.
Yep.
And then Moore himself was like, after filming, he's like, this is, I can't do this anymore. Like, not in a mean way. It's like, let's amicably. You know, I'm far too old when, you know, I am dealing with co-stars who their mothers were could have been old enough to be, Bond women
Right.
in my first films kind of thing. I think it's time for me to pass the torch.
Hang up the badge and the gun or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this much: as much as yes, Roger Moore is older looking in this movie, and it's abundantly clear he doesn't do pretty much any of the stunts. I will say this: he is like very committed though here. Like he even maybe he feels he's old, but he doesn't really phone it in. Like I feel like it's not like a truly inspired performance or anything, but he clearly is comfortable in the role. He's not just, I'm just doing this for the paycheck. Like I do feel like he actually put some effort and energy into this production.
It's like a professional.
Yeah.
This is a professional effort. He's doing his job.
Yeah, I felt that at least, like as I was watching it, and this is probably I don't know, I've probably seen this movie several times over however many years, but I just that was one thing I knew going into this. Like we always hear the complaints, he's old and he couldn't do the stunts and so forth, but I kind of tried to just remove that from my viewing and just say, like he didn't just do this just because he was going to get this massive paycheck or just because he was required to do so. I do feel he wanted to try to make a good film and do the best that he could.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's, and maybe this is just me being growing up in it and stuff, but CGI just doesn't cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they do the practicality of the effects of the stunt driving in Paris and jumping off the Eiffel Tower and all the other things that go on. I don't know, like him not doing his own stunts is totally fine with me. Mm-hmm. like it does not bother me that there is a professional stunt driver instead of having some sort of to me CGI is nothing more than is the same thing as what they did back in the day to do like the background, what do they call those, the green, not the green screen. I mean, they're green screen, but like in the 50s and
right. It was like blue screen before that. And then there was something that was before that. I don't know all of the, but yeah, like even Dr. No, right? When you see all those times Connery's driving and it's so clear that it's just some sort of screen that's projecting the image of a car driving behind or whatever, which I don't know if that was just a cost cutting measure because we do know Dr. No was expensive, but still a bit on the lower end of budget at the time. So, but yeah, like even Goldeneye, right? When Pierce Brosnan is jumping to the plane, like it's so clear, like that's a really bad screen job. So,
right. Well, and even like good CGI, it just doesn't. There's something that practical effects really, I don't know, just catches my eye a lot better than CGI.
Yeah, that's fair. I think a lot of people do. Maybe younger kids now where the practical effects are like almost nigh-existent, right? Not very many movies use them unless absolutely necessary, just because of the cost effectiveness of using CGI. I don't mind a blend. Like if you can use the CGI to complement a practical effect somehow, that I don't mind it. And yeah, there's some CGI that's come out where you're like, oh, that's actually pretty impressive. It's CGI, but you're like, that still looks pretty decent. Like, if it's like a water landscape or something, or you see some of them and you're like, yeah, that deserves some credit. Like that looks pretty good. But we had all practical, explosions in this movie and stuff, not just like they have to make the explosion so big to cover whatever building or item that it is so that it looks like it actually blew up. I always find that amusing when they have to just make the explosions get bigger and bigger to try to cover up the fact that, that whatever the structure is still standing, but you have to have the disbelief that this happened.
Well, I think that's another thing as well, is that what it does in that regard, like because he's not doing his own stunts, they have to film things in certain angles that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And to me, I guess that's just that's more interesting, because instead of constantly being able to see exactly what's going on, there's this obfuscation. There's kind of this little bit of a dance with, what the filmmaker is willing to show versus, like, like there's a point in that Paris chase scene where it's just a quick turn, but you see the camera is really low, so you can't see the driver,
right,
purposely, and like the driver's also ducking and stuff. So,
yeah.
and it's just things like that I like that you don't get. Or what's the movie? Is it just Napoleon? The one where like the Russian military played like the Cossacks, not the Cossacks, but they acted as the British.
Okay.
For water, maybe it's called Waterloo or something, like a very like 70s movie or something.
Okay.
But like there's tons and tons and tons of people. You don't like with CGI and stuff, you don't get the glint of metal in the sun and all these different kind of natural things that go on so much, nor like the weight of something that happens doesn't really come across as well. And I don't know, I think the things like that maybe makes me enjoy this a little bit more
Okay.
than what like I did a few years back.
Maybe.
So
well, and that's, I like your point about the stunt actors. That's a difficult job. You basically have to hide your face for a variety of the shots you're doing and stuff while trying to perform, extremely dangerous things for a camera. And often you're trying to blend in with the environment so that you can, maybe see the back of the head of the individual, and you're like, okay, to keep some of that mystique, right? Of, could that be Roger Moore? We know it's not, but and the opposite end, right? If it's like, oh, Tom Cruise is hanging from a plane, so they got the camera right in his face, you can see that it's Tom Cruise, kind of thing. But yeah, it's a kind of unique skill to have to be able to do this thing that could basically kill you in a lot of cases while acting at the same point. And the acting in this case is, instead of being visible, is to make yourself almost invisible.
Right.
But yeah, this movie has some decent stunts and stuff, like the beginning, the skiing, that jump that one guy does where he
down the crevice.
Yeah, and he falls onto, and he kind of like has to get up. I'm like, oh, like that's pretty tough.
Yeah. Just is that right after he breaks the first, like his?
That's when his ski breaks, right? Because he falls, and then so he's on the one ski only. I'm like, yeah, like that's some pretty tough stunt to pull off. Like you're just skiing around on one ski.
Yeah, because that could really hurt.
Oh yeah, like you twist one way and you're going for a good ride. So yeah, just stuff like that.
That helicopter there, that it took them 3 props to get that properly done.
Oh really? To
do that helicopter crash. Yeah, because the first prop, it like died. Like engine failure, it just went up and just right into the ocean. And then I don't remember what happened to the second one. I don't know if it just kind of petered out and didn't do what they wanted. But then the third one, the last prop that they had for it actually worked.
Okay.
Because it was like
they did a good job with the helicopter too. Like they kind of left a level of realism, right? When the helicopter gets hit, it doesn't just instantly explode like you'd often see in many action movies.
Right.
Like it spins out of control. And that must have been tough, because like I assume somebody was in a helicopter with that smoke billowing out, right? That pink or red smoke or whatever it is.
I'm trying to think if that was prop at that point.
Was that prop? Okay. Well, it looked pretty good. Like if it was prop, it looked pretty good.
I'm trying to remember if at that point it was prop or not.
Well, it could have been, but I thought it looked pretty cool. And yeah, like some of the other stunts are decent. the fight on the Golden Gate Bridge, yes, we get some of the bad like screenshots of Christopher Walken and Roger Moore on the bridge, but there's a couple of like wide shots that it's clearly like two other stunt actors, again,
Right.
trying to hide their face. Now you got two actors that are trying to do that, which is really complicated.
And they're on a replica that's like a quarter of the size of the actual thing.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. It's they built like a pretty mammoth sized replica on the back lot there for it. And
oh wow, then that fooled me, because I could have swore like that where they was like that, just like, did they actually climb up that thing? Because it kind of looked pretty realistic.
Yeah, no, they built like it was like a 4-to-1.
Wow, that's still
size.
pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how like how much of the 4-to-1 was how high up it was for it to be, because from what's her name, Tanya Roberts, played Stacy, and she also like was she in like Charlie's Angels?
I don't think so. I think you're thinking of Farrah Fawcett.
Maybe I am. Anywho, more importantly, the part where she's dangling, she said it was about like a 3-foot drop from where she was to that.
Okay.
Even if it was a quarter of the size, I don't think it was like, it's, if it's, I don't remember how tall it is, and I've walked across the damn thing. But it wasn't, they weren't that high up, but it was a pretty nice like replica of it that they built for it.
No, that's pretty neat. Okay, well, do you want to jump into the plot maybe here, since we're kind of getting all over the map here?
For sure. Microchips.
Well, initially racehorses.
Well, no, because that's what Bond pulls off of a dead frozen 003.
That's true.
That is the microchip. True. So like they started off with microchip because that's where it gets to the races, right?
For sure.
Finds a microchip. Oh, microchip is a replica of the microchip that we're buying that's supposed to be EMP proof. Let's figure out what's going on.
Right.
And so they go to the company that just bought out the other company that was making it,
right?
Which is good old Max Zorn's
Zorn Industries.
Zorn Industries, played by Christopher Walken.
Yeah. And then you get into this whole like horse racing sequence, which I thought was interesting, because I don't know, is there really any other Bond movies that have anything to do with horse racing or anything to do with that sort of, I don't know, betting world and things like that? I can't recall, other than like casinos, obviously, but
I'm trying to think. Did they have a little bit of that in like On Her Majesty's Secret Service? Secret Service, or was that just because I'm thinking of The Wedding and there's just kind of a similar vibe?
I think The Wedding just had a similar vibe.
Okay, all right.
Similar like kind of clothing attire, and I don't remember there being necessarily on a horse track or anything like that.
That just could be me just thinking wrong. No, and I think from what I remember of they mentioned that like they were writing it, and which one of the one of the Broccoli's was really into like horse racing at that time or something. And so they're like, so somebody was really into horse racing when they were writing it. And they're like, let's put more in about horses and horse racing.
Okay.
And it's a Duke who thought he was going to be reincarnated into a donkey or something. Let's go.
Yeah,
what was that place? The Chantil or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, they give it like a slight explanation, or Zorn says something like, this was, I bought this land and this is the reason this was settled on, and it's like whatever. But the whole horse sequence, it's not bad or anything, but it just it kind of overstays its welcome. Like it's a lot longer than it probably needs to be. Like there's just a whole bunch of like twists and turns of like, okay, we're gonna find out why the horses are running faster than other horses. Then we're gonna stay on site for however many days. We're gonna keep investigating, and it drags on. Like it probably could have been a solid 20-minute sequence, and they could have been on to the next. But no, Bond's got to escape. He's gonna get pushed into a lake in a car, and like
to suck on some air from a tire.
Air from a tire.
And that was an actual Rolls Royce they submerged into water there.
Okay. And it was an actual Roger Moore they submerged in the water too.
Yes, too. Yeah.
So yeah, I just find that sequence kind of drags on. And then they got to be like, well, they kind of give us the whole backstory of Zoran really quickly as well. Well, it's quite quick. And at least they give us something, right? It's like, at least you get some semblance of what this villain is about, because some of the other Bond movies don't really give us a good window of that. They don't do much here, but they at least give you something. And basically he's, I don't know, how do you want to, like, he's sort of a test tube baby, kind of that,
and he's just in it for himself, right? Really, he got all this help from those evil Russians and
the KGB. Once you're KGB, you can never not be KGB, or whatever he says.
Right.
You're KGB for life or something like that.
And yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, I had that help, but I'm better than that. Or, kind of that sort of mentality.
I've evolved to a higher plane.
Right. And so he just starts to be like, okay, sure, whatever, I'm a businessman, and so I'm doing business.
And then we really get to like the meat of it after that, though, right? And it really zips along for a chunk, telling us like what Zoran's plan is. He basically wants to control all these other businesses that he's been fueling money to kind of get them to the top of their industries. And then now his whole plan is to basically flood
Silicon Valley.
Thank you, Silicon Valley, by causing a fault line to rupture, which will cause like a natural effect, right? So that no one could technically be blamed for this just being a natural occurrence.
Right. It's just, but which is just.
But he's got to buy a house first.
That, and he needs to float his blimp around with his name on it.
Sure does.
This makes me think of not too horribly long ago. There was on CNN, there was the commercial for Applebee's that decided to pop up during the moment when they're like, hey, war in Ukraine. And then there's an Applebee's commercial that starts playing right in the middle of this.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, that's like the same thing. It's like, why in God's name are you going to float a blimp around?
Well, because he was German.
Less the method of transport or travel, but more that you're floating you're in your blimp with your industry name on it, right as a catastrophe is about to unfold.
It's a sheer coincidence.
Less a sheer coincidence, and that's just a bad way to like stigmatize your company.
Either that, or he really was a big fan of Led Zeppelin, and he wanted to rename the band Led Zoran.
Oh boy.
Well, they wrapped up just around the time this movie came up. So, well, I guess it's a few years before Led Zeppelin had shut it down. But anyways, so you're right. But he is basically like self-advertising. And there's a lot of ways that he could still be connected to all of this, right? And plus, I don't know, the guy who they kick off the Zeppelin, like, I would assume he's dead, but do you think he's dead?
The one who gets slid down.
Yes, it's quite a fall.
Oh yeah. I would imagine, since the likelihood of falling into
that
water,
far into water, like you're probably still going to hit the water and die.
Right. Yeah.
But if that guy survives,
there's no pencil dive where you just sort of break through the water without an issue.
A perfect swan dive.
Right. Not happening.
No.
Because gonna go with no.
Yeah, most likely he didn't survive. But we're kind of overcomplicating. This plot is not as complicated as it seems. Like, I think as I watch it, I was like, oh, like it's pretty understandable to capture as you're
It,
watching. It's
it's
not super
understandable.
convoluted.
It's and it is, yeah, it's not convoluted outside of the flooding of Silicon Valley
Mm.
by rupturing this fault and then getting all that water there.
But not until he
And
buys a house
right.
for
But
5 million.
but yeah, it's not nearly as loop de loop as a lot of different Bond movies will go and just be like,
Right.
okay, you've really, this is not a shark you have jumped.
Yes, it's not super complicated to the point where you're like, you got to watch this 6 times to understand what complicated scheme is actually happening here. But with that said, we get several occasions of the typical like, you will die now, Mr. Bond, and like, instead of just shooting him. And I think this is why this gag comes up in something like Austin Powers. Like they could have easily just literally shot him several
Right.
times.
Poor
But no,
Tibbet.
we're gonna push you, we're gonna knock you out, and we're gonna push you into the lake in a car.
Yeah, poor Tibbet couldn't be given life. No, they had to kill him there and then.
Yeah, he didn't deserve that. He got bullied around like for a quarter of the movie by James Bond. And then
Well, you know that it's more improvised, a lot of those lines, because he's friends with that. He was
okay.
friends with that actor,
Oh, so they
and
must
so
have
he
had a lot
was
of fun.
he was purposely putting those digs in there
Okay.
because they were friends, and so it's just
Okay,
being
that's
a
fair enough.
complete
I mean,
schmuck.
they're pretty funny, some of them, right? But
Right,
it just as a joke, is like, I know this poor guy didn't deserve that, and then he gets killed off, right?
right.
And I can't remember. Do we see who? I mean, I think we just get the interpretation of who it is that kills. We don't actually see who kills, because this happens. There's 2 kills of this nature, being strangled behind the vehicle.
I thought with that one it was Mayday, just because
Well,
she's driving the car.
yeah, it is Mayday, but I don't think we actually see Mayday like get out of the car or anything. Do we?
Yeah, we don't know what. No,
It's
just
implied.
because. Yeah, A, she's driving. B, she's there at the gate when he leaves.
Right.
So, it's kind of implied that he's not paying enough attention
Right.
to realize that she's
jumped in the
tailing.
back seat when he was,
Yeah.
Because he kind of looks around like, where did she go?
Mhm.
Which is like, wow, you really don't have a brain, do you? Like, what? Like, what? She's out in the middle of stables and there's literally nowhere to go. So you would not think to look in your trunk or in your back seat or anything, but
Right.
anyways, he does notice he gets tailed, right? Because like by the time he gets to the gas station and stuff, he recognizes some of the other people around, or the same people that were from the facility. But anyways, yeah, like at least it's pretty straightforward for the most part. Yes, there's some throwaway things that are just completely ridiculous and so forth. Like, the very end of the movie is, it's an interesting climax to be like, yeah, we're going to do this big thing. It's on the Golden Gate Bridge. This is kind of our big finale. And I don't know, like, is there any, I'm trying to think of some other like super iconic, whether they're buildings or sites that end in the same way like this one does. And we even get like the Eiffel Tower in this too, right? Like, I don't know if that was a Roger Moore thing to be like, no, I really want to be in some of these really well-known, what's the word? Not like historical
Locations,
points, but just like locations, yeah, around the world.
Nah, I think it was just more of the writing, and that it's like, hey, we want to go to these places, but we also want to do something that you can't normally do. So, like, for that, doing the jump off of there, they had to like get all these different permits and approval from all these different authorities and stuff. And that jump actually caused a little bit of trouble, because like right before they did that, like a week, a man and a woman jumped off.
Oh,
like
wow.
parachuted,
yep.
And they landed safely and were immediately arrested. They were thought like the police thought they were a part of the filming, and they're like, no,
really?
no.
Okay.
Right. And then they did the jump, and they set it up to do it 3 times, but they got all that footage off the first one, and they're like, okay, good. Let's not try to chance this anymore because they had like one of the writers or something. He did like the actual calculus for it to determine how much time they had to before pulling the parachute because of how wide the Avro Tower is at the bottom compared to how it is up top.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and so they found out there's like 3.5 seconds or so, and so the jumper had to do that. Like they practiced, the guy practiced it. He did it a whole bunch, and the way he figured out to time it for it was the pitch of the air passing as he was falling. So he was like, once it hit a certain pitch, he was like, this is when I need to pull my chute.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's pretty wild. But well, the thing was, is they did that first one, and his backups were like, well, we want to jump off of it, but they're like, no, we're good. We're good. And so they basically decided to still do it, but they did it like the following day when they thought nobody was going to be there, and they were filming other stuff the very next day. And so they did unauthorized jumps. The main stunt man's two backups did this.
Wow.
And they're like, what are you doing? We are now like, the Paris officials are now super pissed at us. And so they had to fire him on the spot. They were like barred from ever doing any more Bond stunts.
in
like
Paris.
No, like ever again for as far as I'm aware. I don't like they were fired and then not allowed to do any more stunts for Bond films.
Wow, that's interesting.
Because they, you do an unauthorized jump. and yeah, not very professional.
No, I guess not. And now we see lots of people doing stuff like this, right?
Right.
With their cameras and stuff, but we won't get into that. But yeah, and I think otherwise for me, just plot wise, that there are a few like really randomly shoehorned, the KGB is involved in this, or like, the Russians are buying this. Like you have that Soviet, I can't remember the name of the female spy that, like that whole, I'm like, what, why does that have to be in the movie? Like, it's just another reason to have Roger Moore naked. Like, what's the,
yeah, sure. You know how long it took them to film that scene?
I hope 10 seconds because it's so unnecessary.
It took all day. Surprise, surprise. It was like 8-9 hours filming that.
It's such an unnecessary part of the movie, right? Like they could have easily cut out with the whole, he had to get the tape. And it's like, they did not need that part in there. And that definitely adds to the runtime, obviously.
Well, right. Cause this is a 2 hour, just north of 2 hours. And, we talked a little bit about before, like when I was watching this, the first half of this movie does zip by for me. And then it shortly around that point, maybe a little bit before, it feels like it hits a truck and then just stumbles its way for the last hour or so. And I'm just like, ah.
So I agree. And unfortunately, and this is no disrespect to that actress, but it's basically once Stacy gets involved in the movie, it starts to slow down significantly. Because she's not in like the first half of the movie, more or less. Like she has one scene in there, fine. But she and it's not her. It's just like once her character gets introduced, because now you got to have that whole sequence at the farmhouse or whatever the house, and that takes a long part of the movie as well. And we have to, I don't know, Roger Moore has to think he's like now a supreme chef or something as well. That stupid joke about the omelet or whatever.
Hey, it's a quiche.
Oh, jeez. No, I know, but he's like, it's an omelet. It's so stupid.
Right.
Playing into the fact that she's that, dull, like she's not very bright, I guess. But it really slows things down, like at that point. And then you get a bit of the Zoran stuff, but it seems to, because then you get now I got to go for an evening swim. It just adds all these extra bits that you're like, really, you probably could have cut out a chunk of this.
Yeah, it does feel a bit superfluous and just sort of like, what are you? It almost feels like there wants to be two different movies, but it definitely feels like there's like a point at which this movie, it's like, oh, this could have bifurcated right here, and we would have had whatever. But it does feel really,
the fire truck stuff, kind of interesting stuff to put into the movie, but it's really drawn out, like way past the point that it needs to be.
Yes.
Like that sequence of like, no, now the police car's got to drive up while the bridge is opening and fall back and crash in and do this and do, like, it's just, they could have had them escape on the thing, chase them for, a solid amount of time, and they could have got away and that would have been a minute. Like they didn't need to have all the bridge stuff, and that, it's just too long.
Right. Yeah. It's no, that's it.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, like, but it's just,
and just then, like you kind of mentioned before, that midnight swim, that's where it felt like I'm like,
mm-hmm. That's a brutal kill though. That one guy gets dumped into the tube.
Yeah.
Oof, that's pretty brutal.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's probably one of the most brutal things in any of the Bond movies. Like that's pretty vicious.
I mean, yeah, you're getting diced up.
Yeah, there's diced no coming back.
Chunks. No. That's pretty rough.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we talk about a few of the characters? You okay to move on from? I think we've kind of got a pretty good semblance of this plot, but maybe just hit a few of the characters. I'll tell you who my favorite character in the entire movie is.
Okay. Is it Grace Jones? Is it Mayday?
Yes, she's the actual best. You've ruined my spot. Was I was going to say it's actually Dolph Lundgren.
Oh,
for looking like the least capable KGB guard. Why does he look so nervous and scared the entire time he's standing there? The other guy looks like a heavy muscle. Like he is like, okay, in this scene, Dolph, we know it's your first time being in a movie. We just need to look serious. You just need to look tough. And he
looks neither.
And he's not a small dude. Like he's a massive guy.
Well, it's because they have him like,
he seriously looks like he's like, did I miss the popcorn? When are we having the popcorn? Like he looks like he's like forgotten his watch or something. Like is my tie straight?
He's like 5 steps down.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's like 3 foot tall.
He's like, that's true. He's in like the very bottom corner of the screen, while this old German or old Russian, general or whatever is trying to berate Zorin, and who's just kind of looking off in the distance, is not even paying attention. But there's another guard on the other side, and he eventually gets picked up by Grace Jones, which is a pretty cool scene. But at least he kind of, when you're playing a muscle character, you don't have to do anything but basically look menacing.
Right.
And I believe this is the first time that Dolph Lundgren's ever been in a movie, as far as I recall. And he was dating Grace Jones at the time. That's how he got in.
That's
the
how,
movie.
Yeah.
So and obviously he's a pretty good looking guy. He does look like he could be a German or Russian, military man or something. He looks the part, but man, does he look so nervous in that dire scene. And he's in one scene in the whole, even when he pulls the gun out, he looks even more nervous.
Right. Because he's like cowering. It's like,
I'm surprised he didn't have the gun facing himself. Like
fumbles it away.
Yeah. But no, it is actually Mayday. Mayday is my favorite character in the movie.
Mayday, she is a great character. Like Grace Jones, like she just seems
she's all in on the character.
Yeah,
she's all in. But yeah, no, she's probably one of my favorite, whatever you want to call them, like secondary villains or whatever. She's very capable, right? She, maybe she's like any of the hench men or whatever you want to call them, but they always have to have like at least a fraction of something that makes them like, you're like, oh really, why would you make that as your decision to do something? But as a whole, like she carries herself well. She looks intimidating. She's got a really unique look. Just she's got everything you need basically.
And that, I think something that's nice is that there's not necessarily like a gimmick with her.
Yeah,
there's no top hat, kind of
blade in the shoe or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
Right. It's
that's
just true. Yeah, it's more of just her kicking butt and
Her gimmick
Outside
is
of
like she seems
fly
to be on the
fishing.
steroid stuff. Well, yes, aside from the fly fishing. I mean, I assume her gimmick is, I think it's implied again that she's been taking the steroids that's been used.
Oh, right. Because
because she picks up a grown man who's clearly way larger than her. Like he's a, well, for lack of better, a fly. Sorry,
well,
fly fishing,
but the there's that brief back and forth with Bond and the Doctor early on in the movie where they're talking about, conditioning versus the bloodlines, and it's like, right. Oh yeah. And then the Doctor does mention that, I believe it, it's what I believe for horses also works for people. And I think that could allude to that.
Yeah, probably, right. She's probably being tested on to some degree,
but that and also Zorn, to some degree. So
that's true. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily the steroids for him, but they're doing something to him, and they have done something basically since he was a child.
Well, I mean, in the sense of conditioning. So yeah,
that's true. Yeah, but she just has great screen presence in this. She's also in the Conan the Destroyer movie, and I find she's way better in this. She's way better.
Yeah. I don't know why. Why? I mean, part of it's just because of it's Conan the Destroyer, and they fumbled that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, because is it like a PG or PG-13 movie or something?
They went PG-13, I believe.
Something like that. When you had an R-rated movie, this is movie makers, just keep your movie R.
They really
more people will really appreciate it.
There's a lot of jokes in that movie that I never got as a kid, though, now that kind of make me chuckle and laugh. And I have to send you the picture of, have you ever seen the picture of Grace Jones with the staff, and she's monkeying around with Arnold on set, and she's choking him out with it, and he's got like his tongue sticking out with this big smile on his face?
No,
it's this really goofy picture. I got to find it and show it to you, but it's Grace Jones like pretending to choke him out with the staff or whatever. But yeah, but she has great command in this movie. She's actually really an interesting person too, because she's like a disco diva from the 70s and stuff, right? Like she's actually got a really interesting like personal backstory. But she's just perfect in this role. Like she fits well, and she plays off of Christopher Walken really well. Like they actually match well.
Like how, because I'm not as familiar with Walken's like career. How long had he been doing stuff up until that? Because I'm just trying to think of
until this movie.
Yeah,
I don't know when he broke into like Hollywood per se, but he had done stuff before this. Like The Deer Hunter was probably like the big thing he was known for with Robert De Niro.
Okay, I've never seen that.
So it was like a movie set in the Vietnam War.
No, I know of the movie. I've just never seen it. So
I haven't seen it in full either. Like I know, bits and chunks, and there's the famous Russian roulette scene or whatever with them. I don't know what else like he was in that was really famous or made him famous necessarily. But he's known for like that mannerism, right? The way he carries his tone of speech and so forth. Right. There's hints of it here, but it's not to the point where it's distracting.
Well, where I was going more so was that Grace Jones was very accomplished before even being a part of this. So it was like she knew what she was doing. Right. And stuff like that.
I think you think he was pretty well known, because even you look at his name in the title scene, it's like, and Christopher Walken, right? Like his name comes up last. So that to me tells you like, oh, we actually got this actor and this is a big deal.
But I guess more so what I'm getting at is that like, it's not like a very inexperienced like actor or just professional. So she's able to bounce off that. Right. All the other professionals doing their job, like Moore doing his job and Walken doing his, and just everybody else working, is that when you have a group of professionals together and they've, are professional, they're able to do it. And then it's because she, her background and being more of, what would you say, like an entertainer? Yeah, that'd be like she's there to entertain, and she's just bringing it.
No, she really helps. Anytime she's on screen, like you kind of want to see what she's going to do next. And she just has a great look. And I know that's probably not like anything different than what she might normally wear. Like she like I've seen some of the costumes she wore as like when she was a singing performer, and you're like, yeah, this is actually probably toned down from some of the stuff you see, because she had like all like sequins and all kinds of stuff, right? But like she has, even when she's on the blimp and she's got like the sunglasses, and one is like very circular, and the other one's a bit more like I can't quite say what shape it is, but it's not circular. It's almost like not rectangular, like exactly, but like just little things like that. Or I noticed, and I was like, yeah, like I can see she probably actually put some of her own personal touch on some of the costume and so forth. But yeah, she just really plays the character great. And I don't think we're spoiling it to know, like, she does meet an end where you're like, okay, like it's kind of cool to see that she redeems herself too, right? She's not just this heartless. She plays it the whole way through. You're like, oh yeah, she's just brutal, beating people up and killing. But even she has a limit that Zoran doesn't have.
Yeah, Zoran. They decided to give him the full royal straight flesh of Psycho. And
she's not
shooting
that
people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's actually pretty miserable scene too, right? Or he's just like laughing away and he's just gunning down. I don't know. Seems like a couple hundred mine workers. I don't think it's quite that much, but
not. Yeah, but it's just kind of like
it's a lot still.
It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you adding this extra dose of Maniac to?
Well, it is interesting because we don't really see that. It's implied early on, right? To say, oh, there's a high level of psychosis with these children as they were growing up. They were being tested on. They had all these great attributes of strength and conditioning and so forth. But the one problem is that they're psychotic, and we don't really see that. Like, he's charming enough, right? When he meets Bond, and even when he's like, he finds out who he is, he takes it, and so he doesn't just like flip his table over and swing a sword
that
at
nice
him or something.
That nice counter where he gets the one up on him, but it isn't overt,
right?
It's very subtle and controlled. Yeah, it's very like oh yeah, that's my horse and stuff to get different pictures.
I think we have the perfect horse for you,
right? And I mean, like that sort of thing is appreciated, where it isn't just like, oh, I know who you are, whatever. It's a nice little dance that goes on with it. Right. That's sometimes that's
had he tapped into his psychosis a little bit better though. He would have killed him.
He would have had that
in the car. He would have killed him at City Hall instead of been like, we're just going to set a fire. Let's see if you can get out of the elevator. Right. Like he would have just shot him in both of those cases. And when he gets off the blimp, he would have shot him there. Does Bond kill anybody in this movie? I can't even remember. I'm trying to think. Does he kill anybody?
Like,
who does he kill? Not like actually hands-on kill anybody. I don't think he does.
I would say the dude that gets the second dude that gets wrapped up in that conveyor belt.
Okay, yeah, possibly.
I would say that you're getting that robotic wrap around you,
around your eyes. Probably. Probably, but it's interesting. I don't think he actually racks up like a clean kill in this.
What about like right in the
gun early in the beginning?
In the opening,
yeah, maybe. Hey, I guess technically he probably killed somebody there.
Well, yeah, the helicopter. He takes out those two dudes.
That's true. We haven't even talked about the fact that they shoehorned the Beach Boys into this movie.
Oh, that's such a weird thing.
Oh, it's so weird. It's not even the Beach Boys. It's like a cover of the Beach Boys. It's even worse.
That's even worse. Pricey, but it is a weird. It's a weird combo. To be like, hey,
we're gonna play California Girls, and then you get up that disgusting scene with him getting in the iceberg. he what is it, 4 women that he hooks up with in this movie? Is it 4?
Does Mayday count?
Yes, Mayday counts. Why would Mayday not count?
Because she hooks up with him.
Yeah, but he's in her room first.
True.
he kind of sets the scene, right? So had he been in his room, I don't think that would have happened.
That's fair.
So and I like how Christopher Walken looks in that scene too.
And just
He's
kind
just
of like,
sure, go for it.
Good luck.
Even though he knows who he is at that point, he's like totally like, we have to keep an eye on him and everything. He's like, oh, he's just gonna sleep with your right hand hench person. Yeah, go ahead, whatever. We'll kill him tomorrow.
Right.
There's not a lot of other characters here that are particularly stand out for the most part. I mean, you get the what's his name, Doctor.
I don't remember what that doctor's name is.
It's something. He fakes his name at that point when he meets him too, right? He says something else, and boy, that guy's useless. Blows himself up basically. And there's
because he's
other
fumbling
henchman
around with that stick of dynamite.
Yeah, there's that other henchman
who's a giant ice cube.
Well, they should have used the slide whistle for that. Sneak in one more slide whistle. Moore's first movie had to have a slide whistle. His last movie had to have a slide whistle. They could have done that right as Zord is falling off the Golden Gate Bridges.
But you're talking about like the head of security guy.
He's
sort of there.
Sort of there, right? He's not really, doesn't really have any defining characteristics. Really, he's got like a scar on his face, but that's about it.
It works. I kind of like that because then it gives Mayday the chance to just be Mayday and not be like, oh, Mayday is the head of security, but also like the personal bodyguard and trainer. And I kind of like that there's that dissemination.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the CIA agent, but he doesn't really get a lot of scenes too.
Oh yeah,
but he's okay. Like for what he gets, like believable enough. And I thought he was a decent actor, but he just didn't really get much to do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It was just kind of like, oh, okay.
I think that's kind of it. Like you get your same actors for Q, M, and Moneypenny. So not really much change there. And then Stacy is just kind of, it's not a well-written character, right? Even if that actress, like, I don't know if she's a particularly well-known actress or anything, but she's got nothing to work with. Where like they really make her out to be an unintelligent, pretty much useless character. She just has one function, and that is to be rescued and to have like one small, like minuscule reason for Zoran to have like a thorn in his side kind of thing.
Right.
And that's basically it.
And to have a gun filled with rock salt.
Oh, jeez. Actually, that sequence isn't too bad. It's actually kind of fun. And
it's not awful, but it is kind of funny. It's like, what is this filled with? Rock salt.
Yeah. Yeah. But like the sequence is kind of like, you get to see a little bit of viciousness out of Bond in that a little bit.
Yeah, a little, I guess.
Not like, but like we don't really see too much of that otherwise in the movie, other than the very beginning.
Right.
Then he only uses a gun when he's in the Eiffel Tower to shoot at Mayday, but he misses every shot. And then, that's about it, right? So, I don't know where else. Is there anything else you want to do? The only other thing I noticed in this movie, there's basically no gadgets. There's literally like one gadget in this movie. And I don't count the little robot as a gadget, like the ring camera. That's like the only thing I can think of.
There's the like card device thing that unlocks the window.
Oh, okay. It's really toned down in this though, right? Because a lot of the other Roger Moore movies, like the gadgets play a much bigger.
Right. There's the
like they're kind of marqueed a little bit better. This one, not so much.
There's that. The thing, the detect, I mean, it's not really like, it's the thing that detects the microphone.
Oh yeah, I guess.
So, I mean, like, that's not, like
pretty
super duper, right?
Well, because Q doesn't even really give him anything.
Well, yeah, because he keeps breaking his shit.
Well, yeah, he just talks about the robot, right?
It's like, you're not getting anything this time, Bond. You're on your own.
Here's my modified Rob the NES robot. It's like, it just kind of looks similar. Put wheels on it. We're gonna go play what was the game that came with Rob?
Pipe-
Clue Land.
Oh, was it Pipeline, another one or something?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, is there any other other bits you wanted to tackle?
Um, the that where they're doing the shootout at the OK Corral there with the rock salt gun.
Mhm.
Um, that building and that scene looks like the place where they have the party early on in Gone with the Wind. Like, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. I was like, oh, Gone with the Wind. You know, that's not not it at all. Um, that and also like how frequent was that tape switcheroo thing by that point? To do it as because that's just like a whole gag scene. It feels like
Well, it's
where
just
it's
not
like
out of place for the more movies, though.
right, well, and I'm just kind of like, how frequently had it been done by that point to where it's like, oh,
Got to have a slapstick thing in here.
you switch the tapes, tricky.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, yeah, it seems like they always have to like shoehorn that a few times.
Yeah, because I
Unfortunately,
think
like,
of like Escape from New York is the first thing that pops in my head with the switch of the tape, and that was a much more serious.
well, that's kind of like a dark humor action, I guess.
New York, not so much. That one's played a bit more seriously. Escape from
Mhm.
LA now.
LA is
That one.
I recently rewatched that, and I still have mixed feel. Like, there's parts of me that's like, yeah, I really enjoyed how just stupid this movie is, but other parts I'm like, I really wish they would have been a bit more serious.
Right.
Like, it's kind of teeters between both. Something like Evil Dead 2, I'm just like, no, like this strikes the exact perfect balance of being a comedy and a horror. But for some, I just don't feel the same about Escape from LA as I probably should. But
It is just bonkers.
yeah, it's just silly. But good on them to make something that they wanted to make too. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
But
I didn't think of that, I guess, for this movie.
it was just something that came up partially because I'd been watching things like Escape from New York more recently, and I was
Mhm.
just like, hey, how common of a trope was was this to where they decided to make
Oh,
this a
geez,
little bit of a gag?
probably quite often, right? Like
Right.
the switcheroo happened in a lot of different movies. So
Well, yeah, where it's like, oh, it's the background music, tee hee ha ha
right,
kind of thing.
you got the wrong tape or whatever,
Right.
the wrong MacGuffin.
The wrong MacGuffin.
Or, well, I don't know, rabbit's foot, whatever you want to call it.
More than anything, I'm just disappointed you didn't bring up your favorite scene in this movie.
Oh, my favorite scene is still, it's the last thing I want to talk about. So
Okay,
that's
all
why
right.
I'm putting it on the table if you still had some final areas you
Um,
wanted to tackle, because I think for me, I feel like I've hit everything I wanted to except for this one bit.
I'm trying to think. I guess if anything, uh, the it was ahead of the curve when it talked about microdosing steroids for horses. Like, I guess I just
Was that a jab at the like all of the Olympians from from Eastern Europe or something?
well, I don't know, but like I just when it was just the whole this is their surgery and they put in these little injectors for steroids and you just have to press a button
Mhm.
or use a whip to get it to go and they'll be microdosing on steroids. It's like, well, that's certainly something.
But now that we're thinking it, like, honestly, I'm wondering if that was meant to be, because for a long time Eastern European athletes have been accused of that, right? And so it's like, I wonder if that was kind of shoehorned on purpose here to be like, oh, just the KGB's involved in this. Of course they are. More so even just to be like, oh, we're still in the Cold War, because the KGB in this are just, they're bumbling buffoons, and they literally have pretty much no purpose in this other than for the backstory of Zoran.
Well, that, and they
And to
they do.
introduce us to the amazing acting of Dolph Lundgren.
Oh boy, and we'll certainly see more of that.
Yeah.
What was that awful movie he was in?
Which one?
One with Bruce Lee's son, Brandon.
Oh, Showdown in Little Tokyo. I
Yeah,
love that
good.
movie.
Oh
It's such a
God,
bad
it's
movie that it's so much fun to watch.
bad.
I know it's
Uh,
every one liner, and it's every one liner is a nudge and a wink. Like you can just tell.
You get the biggest penis I've ever seen. It's like, what? Why? Why is this a lie?
It's meant to be totally tongue in cheek. That movie. It's
Oh,
I find that movie
tongue in someone's cheek. That's certain.
See, and I find that movie way more fun than something like Escaped in LA, when I probably feel like I shouldn't, but but I do. I don't know why. But
any
that's tail end of the 80s, trying to morph into the the 90s cool. That's that movie, because it's like a 1990 or 1991 release, that movie, something like that.
Oh yeah, so the 80s are still bleeding into
something like that. Yeah, but they're trying to kind of break away a little bit. He's really good in the Expendables movies. I actually found like he's pretty fun. Probably one of the more fun characters in those movies.
Oh
yeah. Especially the second one.
I guess the last thing I'll just add for it is that I'm sorely disappointed there wasn't more Bob Conley.
reason being,
because you just needed more stereotypical Texan oil magnate characters, I guess. I don't know. I was just like, yeah, he's in there. Is he brought up in again and I'm just forgetting?
He's in the party at the beginning, like early in the movie, and he gets introduced, and then he's just like, oh, I gotta leave, and he like just like walks away.
Yeah.
And then he's in the blimp. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, is he sometime later? Because isn't he the one who controls the mine?
Is he? I don't remember.
I can't remember either. He's in the blimp for sure.
Yeah, that I do remember.
One of the guys sitting in the blimp. I could have swore he came up again just before Zoran goes wild and starts shooting everybody. I could have swore he's in a scene just before that. Wow, my memories.
Maybe. I mean, I literally just watched this movie hours before we're recording.
And you can't even remember. And I've watched it a few days ago.
Yeah. But
he's not a prominent character, right?
So. Just him, and well, yeah, it's just more of just that introduction. I'm Bob Conley.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, thanks.
Doesn't Bond ask him something like, don't you have your money do you have your money tied in microchips or something? And you just full on just, no, it's all made in oil.
Oil.
Yeah, that's just, thanks for the stereotype.
It's just like, okay, all right, on to other characters.
Yeah. Moving on. Maybe that's why they had him just shirk off right away, right? Because he literally, like, he's just like, oh, I got another appointment or something, like literally walks away after 15 seconds. Like, get him off screen.
Yeah, shoo him away.
Well, he's probably only in this movie because he's the brother of the guy who played the grip boy, and they had to shoehorn him in, otherwise he was going to sue them for some kind of harassment clause or something. Who knows?
He helped donate money to fund and rebuild the 007 studios that had burnt down right as they were starting to film this movie.
Yeah, so they had to do him a solid.
All right.
He helped construct the one what did you say, 1 to 4 scale?
Oh, the 4 to 1
gate bridge or whatever. Yeah. Something like that. Okay, so the absolute stupidest scene potentially in any Bond movie. Potentially, this is like arguably the worst 10 seconds on celluloid. Like
it's pretty bad, but I feel like there's one that's worse than this.
Okay, well, you might have to tell me off the call here after, because I Actually, wait. I want to know when it comes up in the next film and see if I catch it. Otherwise,
Okay.
maybe just saying on to that one.
We can have an argument then.
There's probably still a few others that are probably not coming to mind as well.
Right.
But this is up there. This has to be up there because it's so ridiculous. So you were really ragging on Zorn for having a blimp.
Yes, I am.
Or a Zeppelin.
And I still
don't know. I guess it's a Zeppelin. I don't know. Is it a blimp, Zeppelin? I don't know. Whatever.
Is there a difference? They both catch fire pretty easily.
They do. Oh, the humanity.
No.
Anyway, so I don't know where this bright idea comes that he can that takes some skill to bring that thing down from the air as fast as it comes down. The fact that Bond is like, Stacy, look out, and there's like there's got to be like in real time a solid like 30 seconds before that actually happens.
Yeah,
on film it's like 5 or so seconds, but in real life there's no way that would occur in less than 30 seconds. Anyways, he decides to slide the side door open. He just kidnaps her, blimp naps her, whatever you want to call it.
Blimp naps.
Oh geez, well, I don't know what's the how's to
drive by blimping.
Yes, drive by blimping. Yeah, I don't know what else you can call this. Like, it's just such an obnoxious scene. It's not even like, oh, there's a hook. I would have, even as dumb as this sounds, a rope with a hook on it and it hooked onto her belt or something. As dumb as that would have been, I think this is still dumber because the blimp gets maybe a foot from hitting the ground. Something like that. Like it's
some good blimp action going there. Yes. Somebody knew how they were navigate that blimp.
Oh, come on. That wasn't to scale. That had to be cute. If they actually went to the trouble of we got this amazing stunt. If we got this amazing stunt, we're actually going to make the blimp come down. Then I might actually give this a little bit of credit at least. But no, it's just so dumb, and it's like the whole setup to of Stacy, watch out, and there's plenty of time for her to step to the left, a single step, and he wouldn't have been able to get. That's all it would have taken. It's so dumb.
I think that moment when he falls in the shaft, he must have knocked his noggin or something because. And it just like transferred to the filmmakers and everything as well, because there's that. And then there's like all the stuff that he's saying during that Golden Gate Bridge fight.
Yeah.
He's like, Stacy, jump. And she jumps, nearly toppling them both off of the.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's like this tiny cylinder that you're going to jump on. And hopefully you'll catch a wire or something. It's really bad. Yeah, the whole like the spectacle of the Golden Gate Bridge is a really fun idea. It's kind of it's a big idea.
So sloppy. There's just too many people.
It's extremely sloppy, and it's just like, well, even when Bond is like hanging on the rope, and it's like, okay, like he hangs on that for a pretty solid distance, right? Like I know this is an action movie, but the likelihood is you would fall off at some point. Like, and their big plan is to ram him into the Golden Gate Bridge, essentially. Like they're hoping a wire will cut him in half, as I guess the plan here.
Because it's made of razors.
Well, if you're going fast enough, I'm sure that would cut you in half. But they're not going fast enough for that to happen. He's going to bump in and be like, you moron! Like
just knock.
Why didn't they just turn around and hit one of the mountains, like where the mine was? They would have been better off Wile E. Coyoting. Like, they attacked somebody with a fishing line earlier. Why didn't they just put dynamite on a fishing hook and just slowly, like, push it, like wheel it down to him and hope that it blows him up or something? Like, they could have gone as stupid as that. Like, like put some Wile E. Coyote plans in here. Like, if you're gonna, he's just gonna dangle. Oh, well, we'll just hit him onto the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh yeah, that's death by bridge. Like. Captured by blimp, death by bridge.
That the axe fight it's just sloppy. Like,
the axe fight too, when the sparks are like, pew, and you're like, this is like, geez, those are the exact same effects when like they had the bullets ricocheting off stuff, and it's like, oh, the slow motion axe hitting the bridge is causing sparks like this to fly. And it's not even an axe; it's a hatchet.
True, true.
It's not even a full axe; it's a hatchet.
Yeah, it's just really sloppy, and I think
really
they got super excited because like, oh yeah, Golden Gate Bridge and this fight, and then they didn't quite
execute.
Think that process through. I'm never gonna say execute because they probably executed that plan exactly how they wanted.
You know, the reason Christopher Walken is laughing when he's hanging on there, he's like, man, this is so stupid. And that's why that's it's not because he's a psychopath. He's laughing at how dumb this whole event is before he falls off. That's why he's laughing. And then what is the doctor's like, oh mein Gott, Zoran, and like
yeah.
Then the Wile E. Coyote scene comes out.
Right.
That is seriously a Wile E. Coyote playbook right there.
It's so yeah. It's just
imagine Wile E. Coyote trying to catch the Roadrunner in a blimp, a slow moving blimp with dynamite and a hatchet.
It's just it's just a really bad altogether.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's a spectacle because you're like, why?
Why
are you doing it?
Because it could have been an interesting spectacle if Zoran had to go to the bridge because he needed, the height for the frequency to set the bombs off or something, right? Where you're like, okay, this is dumb, but this was literally just like, oh, we're flying by the bridge. Let's just see if we can kill Bond by hitting him into the bridge.
It is more realistic to see Darkwing Duck driving a motorcycle down the gate suspension things than it is to watch
Mr.
that
McD, launch pad.
It's that awful.
Yeah, they could have had launch pad flying steel beak. Like, I can't even remember all of the who is it? What was the electrified mouse?
What
was his name?
What was his name?
He had Quacker Jack was basically the Joker.
Negaduck.
Negaduck, that's right.
That's the
reverse.
The evil Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
What is his name?
I haven't watched it in a long time. I know there's a couple other villains, but it's basically just Batman, right? It's basically
Shadow.
Shadow?
It's a spoof off of the Shadow.
Oh, that's true. It is a spoof of the Shadow, but all of the villains.
Well, because
more Batman like.
Maybe because that I think it's based off of a comic that came out in like the mid '80s or something.
Darkwing Duck.
I think so.
I don't know. It's a combination of Batman and the Shadow.
Well, and Shadow because Batman
because his whole like I am the terror.
Well, right.
That's totally the Shadow.
Yeah, I was gonna say Batman's a rip off of the Shadow anyway. So.
Oh yeah, yes.
But
anyways,
yeah, that's gonna bother me. What is this? It's like Spark or something.
I have not watched it in so long.
There's that really good NES game, and the composer for that composed the Mega Man 3 soundtrack.
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine, I did get him that game. It's a hard game to come by.
Unfortunately,
it's not easy to find.
Thanks, Capcom.
Yeah, but I remember at the time it was $50, and I was like, I'm okay with paying $50 for an NES game if it's really something I can't find and it's solid. And yeah, it was actually, long story short, he called the store. I had called like just before him, and I know the owners, and I said, hey, can you guys put that aside? Like, I'll come by maybe in a day or two. Yeah, no problem. I guess he called like right after I called. And he said, like, hey, do you guys saw that Darkwing Duck that you guys posted online? He's like, no, somebody's coming to buy. And he was just like, oh, son of a, like, he got so mad. And then his birthday came around like about a month later. He had forgotten about it. And I think I put like a goofy picture on top of it. It was like a picture of Dolph Lundgren or something, like over like the sticker of the game. So he had no idea what it was. It was like, you have to just put this in the machine and find out what it is. And he was so mad at me, but he put it in, and then he was like double mad at me because he was just like, you dirty, like, I can't believe it was you that bought it.
You
some
bitch.
But he was so happy to get it because he'd been looking for it for a long time. So it was all's well that ends well. But there is a View to a Kill game. I don't know if you've seen this, but there
Is this
is
like on the Commodore 64 or
something like
something?
that, and it looks absolutely miserable.
Oh boy.
It looks absolutely terrible.
There are no Bond games before GoldenEye. I'm sorry.
I have
No.
the one for the Genesis, the not License to Kill. What's the one? What's it called? The Duel. And it's a weird game, but it's not like horrible.
That's nice. I mean, I've never played it, so
The only one I've played after GoldenEye that I haven't played like all of the other first person shooter ones, but I did play what's that one called? Is it Everything or Nothing?
Okay.
And that's more of like a third person style game.
Right.
I only played maybe like a couple hours of it or something, but that was interesting. That was decent. And that actually had like Brosnan's likeness and stuff. That was kind of cool. Anyways, back to this. Yeah, just a miserable end to the movie. Basically, it wraps up so poorly. You get a dumb, like, Bond in the shower thing.
He's cleaning up for a few details.
Yes. Yeah. Stupid. Thanks, Q. We don't get a Bond will return at the end of this movie. We do? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, we do. Yes, sorry. We don't get the title of the next movie, though.
No.
A few of the Roger Moore ones, if I recall, do have the titles at the end. Is that? Yeah, I think we get. I think Octopussy comes up, and I think there's one other one. Anyways, it's just like it's too bad. Like there's parts of this movie that are really fun, and yes, they're very 80s, but like the worst bits kind of drag it down, and it to me this kind of sits somewhere in the middle. Like it's lower middle, like it's not like upper middle, but it's not like at the very bottom of the barrel. Even after this watching, I feel like it was like, okay, like I don't feel this was a complete waste of time.
Yeah, I would say the same. It will not, it won't wow you. Mm-hmm. You'll be like, oh, that's kind of neat. But I mean, there's a lot of movies that do that. So it's kind of like,
if this was not a Bond movie, most people wouldn't probably remember it.
Yeah, it would just kind of be like that. Oh, it would be literally the footnote of, oh, Dolph Lundgren first film appearance.
Probably. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Probably. And maybe like if this movie didn't have Bond and let's say Roger Moore wasn't in the main role, I wonder how different this movie would be actually if it did have a younger, different actor in it. But if it wasn't for the Bond tag, again, I think, and not having a theme song that kind of caught on and was popular and stuff, it would just disappear like so many other movies from, name your decade.
Right. So, if memory serves correctly, there's a numerical, which is completely arbitrary, but a numerical thing out of 7 because we like to be different. What would you give this? Where would you throw this at?
I would probably. I don't remember. Did we do 0.5s? I can't remember.
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay. I'm struggling between a 2.5 and a 3.
Ooh,
like it's somewhere in there for me. I'll be generous today. I'll give it the 3. Like there's parts of it that I enjoy enough to, if I seen it on TV or somebody who's like, hey, I want to sit down and watch this, I wouldn't be like, yeah, no, that movie's terrible, you're wasting. I'd just be on and watch it and enjoy like the Mayday scenes and the Zoran scenes and like it's there. Some of the action stuff, like we said, some of the stunts are kind of neat to see and stuff like the car getting split and stuff is like, oh, that's different. That's kind of fun.
That and the bus portion where it lands on the bus and gets off. That was actually the stunt driver. He's like, I want to do that.
Oh, cool.
And they're like, okay, good luck.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and there's a couple of there's a lot of throwaway scenes in this, unfortunately, but maybe it's just fun to relive the Golden Gate Bridge scene just to laugh at how stupid it is.
So
I'll go with 3. And
your generosity kind of is where I sat. It's not average.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit below. I'd give it a 3. It's not offensively bad.
Yeah,
like some of them. It's certainly a product of its time. It's just kind of like, okay, like I said before, the film doesn't feel too bad. for the first half, and then it just kind of it reflects an aged Roger Moore,
a
and that's
tired.
it. Just doesn't quite have the stamina to go for the full distance, and he could have probably done with some of the microdosing to.
Well, he sure goes the distance in this movie at least 4 times, apparently. So,
breeding stud or not, yeah.
You know what? I wish this movie was called Breeding Stud with the whole horse subplot and everything. Breeding Stud, starring Christopher Walken, Grace Jones, and Roger Moore.
What an amazing name for a game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, featuring the likes of Dolph Lundgren and what was the guy? Bob. I've already forgotten the character's name.
Oh, Conley.
Well, thank you, Bob Conley. Yeah, Breeding Stud.
But yeah, it just doesn't. It falls apart. Yeah. Halfway through, it seems like it's doing all right, and then it's probably because they got lost in the weeds doing the whole horse thing, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta put this, we gotta focus." Yeah, and then they focused, but it was like it just took too long to focus, and then get on its way. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's I'm comfortable with that grading.
So yeah, because it's been a while, and I have lost our little paper thing for it. I asked Sushi shortly before what we're going to do is just going to take turns picking the next movie and just go from that route. So did you want to take the pick for this next one there?
No, I'm good. You know what? I want you to pick it because I kind of like pushed us forward to, hey, you want to jump back into this? So why don't you go ahead with the pick?
Oh, you mean sir, because I didn't have it in my head to pick it, but I will pick one. I don't.
Do you want me to give you a decade maybe or something? Then you pick from that? Or?
No. I will pick something. I don't know if I want to be mean or.
Well, you can go either way. Since this one was kind of so middling, you can really go either way.
Right. Let's see. Da. You know what? I'm gonna go.
There's 2 actors we haven't touched upon. So.
Yeah, but I don't want to jump into. I kind of want to save.
Okay. Well, sorry, there's 3 actors actually.
I want to save the Dalton ones because we just did a View to Kill, and I don't want to just jump right into
some more 80s.
Yeah, because that'd be kind of playing it because we've to round it out. We've done Dr. No, World's Not Enough, Moonraker, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This one. You know what?
We've actually had a pretty good mix so far, right? Like they've been kind of all over. So
yeah, we're gonna go back 20 years into the past.
Okay.
From this movie.
So 65?
Correct.
Oh.
Thunderball.
Okay, Thunderball. And I'm saying because I don't personally have like particularly good memories of it, but
I don't either.
And
I just want to get it out of the way.
I think that's unfortunate because it's not a horrible movie, but I kind of feel the same. Like, let's just get it out of the way. But you never know. We might be surprised, or we might end up watching like, I know there's bits of it that are really good. So I do know it was a costly movie too.
I don't want to. As I say, I don't want to. I don't want to just be like, oh, let's pick a really good one. Because now that I'm looking at this, we recorded one that I think we lost. Yeah, and then we'll have to do again. It was a really good one, so
that's okay.
But it's all right.
It's been enough time that it'll feel fresh again.
Right.
I think it's fair.
So, all right. I think that's it. Anything else you want to add there?
No, but I'm looking forward to carrying forward and jumping right into Thunderball.
Yeah, Thunderball. All right. Well, that is it for Mr. Sushi B and myself. Thank you for listening. And yeah. We will return.